The rhythmic ticking of the antique clock on my office wall was a relentless reminder of time slipping away, of a life lived according to someone else's schedule. The sterile scent of the office building clung to the air, a constant antiseptic hum that felt like a professional life support system. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, frozen mid-sentence, as if the clock's ticking had synchronized with the pounding in my chest. Tick, tock, tick, tock. It wasn't just counting seconds, it was counting down to something. I just didn't know what yet. My jewelry felt like shackles today. The diamond earrings my ex-husband had given me, the platinum bracelet from my parents for my 40th birthday. Each piece was a symbol of expectations, of a life carefully curated to meet the approval of others. The coffee in my mug had gone cold, bitter, a perfect reflection of my mood. I swirled the liquid, watching it slosh against the ceramic walls, and wondered how many more mornings I'd spend in this glass and steel cage. Outside, the city hummed with the kind of energy that made you feel alive. Or, if you were me, made you feel like you were missing out on life entirely. The traffic below was a symphony of honks and revving engines, a chaotic orchestra that somehow worked in unison. My life, on the other hand, felt like a solo performance where I'd forgotten the lyrics. I was Sarah Martinez, head of quantum computing research at Quantum Dynamics. Or at least I was. For 6 years, I'd poured my heart and soul into this company, into this job that was supposed to be my dream. But somewhere along the way, the dream had turned into a routine, and the routine had turned into a prison. I was living on autopilot, going through the motions, and the worst part was that no one seemed to notice or care. Today felt different, though. A storm was brewing, and I could taste the metallic tang of anxiety on my tongue. The quarterly review was today. I should have been excited. My breakthrough was groundbreaking. But something was off. The morning had started like any other. I arrived early as usual, my mind buzzing with the breakthrough I'd achieved just weeks ago. A quantum computing architecture that could maintain coherence 100 times longer than any existing system. It wasn't just an incremental improvement. It was the holy grail of quantum computing, the key to making quantum computers practical for everyday use. This was it. This was the culmination of years of dedication and sacrifice. But as I walked into the lobby, the familiar marble floors reflecting the morning sun, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. James, the security guard I'd greeted every morning for the past 6 years, gave me a nod, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. "Big meeting today, Dr. Martinez?" he asked, his voice tinged with something I couldn't quite place. Concern? Pity? "Just the quarterly review," I replied, smoothing my charcoal blazer. "Though I do have something special to present." If only I'd noticed the subtle shift in his expression, the way his eyes darted away too quickly. The elevator ride to the 47th floor gave me time to reflect on my journey here. 6 years ago, Victor Blake, the CEO, had personally recruited me from MIT, where I was doing postdoctoral research in quantum computing. "We need visionaries," he said during our first meeting, "people who aren't afraid to think beyond conventional limitations." His words resonated with me. I was hungry for the opportunity to push boundaries and challenge the status quo. Quantum dynamics had been my dream job. Unlimited research funding, brilliant colleagues, and the chance to push the boundaries of what was possible. This was where I was supposed to be. For 5 years, I'd given everything to this company. Missed family events, worked weekends, poured my heart and soul into solving problems everyone else thought impossible. My personal life suffered, but I convinced myself it was worth it. The quantum computing lab had become my second home. Its familiar hum of equipment and the soft blue glow of monitoring screens were more comfortable than my own apartment. My team, brilliant scientists and engineers I'd handpicked, had become family. We were a tight-knit group, bound by our shared passion for quantum computing and our mutual respect for each other. We were a force to be reckoned with. But as I walked into the conference room for the quarterly review, the first sign that something was wrong was who entered the room. Instead of the usual crowd of department heads and technical leads, the room was packed with unfamiliar faces. Men in expensive suits, members of the board I'd never met, filled the room. Their presence was unsettling. They exuded an air of power and authority that made me feel small and insignificant. And in the corner, Victor's new strategic advisor, James Morrison, wearing that same smug smile I'd grown to distrust over the past few months. Morrison had joined the company recently and immediately began to exude a condescending aura. My intuition told me he was not to be trusted. "Sarah, good of you to join us," Victor said, his voice carrying that artificial warmth I'd learned to be wary of. The warmth felt like a mask hiding something cold and calculating underneath. "We've been discussing your recent claims about a breakthrough in quantum coherence." The way he said claims made my stomach turn. His words felt like a prelude to an attack, a carefully constructed attempt to undermine my work. I set up my presentation anyway, bringing up the first slides showing the test results, the experimental data, the undeniable proof of what my team had achieved. I refused to let his words intimidate me. I had the data to back up my claims. "As you can see," I began, "we've managed to maintain quantum coherence for periods exceeding." I was proud of our accomplishment and eager to share the details with the board. "That's enough," Victor cut me off, standing up. His interruption was abrupt and jarring. It was clear that he had no intention of listening to my presentation. "We've reviewed your work, Sarah. Or should I say, we've reviewed what you claim is your work." His words were like a slap in the face. He was publicly questioning my integrity, accusing me of something I couldn't even fathom. The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. I stood frozen, unsure of what was happening. The air crackled with tension and I could feel the weight of everyone's gaze on me. Victor walked around the table, each step deliberate, theatrical. He was enjoying this, relishing the opportunity to humiliate me in front of everyone. It was a calculated performance designed to break me. "Did you really think we wouldn't find out?" he continued, his voice dripping with false disappointment. "That we wouldn't discover your elaborate fraud?" The word fraud hung in the air, heavy and accusatory. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. "Fraud," I managed to say, my voice steady despite the pounding in my chest. "What are you talking about?" I was genuinely confused. I had no idea what he was talking about. Victor pressed a button, and new slides appeared on the screen. Slides I'd never seen before, fabricated data, manipulated test results, all made to look like I'd falsified my breakthrough. A wave of nausea washed over me. This was a setup. "We've discovered that you've been falsifying research data for months," Victor announced to the room, "manipulating test results to support your impossible claims." His words were like a public execution. My reputation, my career, everything I'd worked for was being destroyed in front of my eyes. "Worse," he continued, "you've been attempting to file patents under your own name for technology developed with company resources." The blood drained from my face. This was about more than just discrediting me. They were trying to steal my work. My mind raced back to 3 weeks ago when I caught James Morrison lurking in my lab after hours. He claimed he was just familiarizing himself with our research facilities. It all made sense now. He was gathering information, preparing to steal my breakthrough. "That's not true," I said, my voice stronger now, anger replacing shock. "Every result has been independently verified by my team. Dr. Chen can confirm." I looked around the room, hoping to see a familiar face, someone who would speak up in my defense. "Dr. Chen was relocated to our Singapore facility last week," Victor said smoothly. "In fact, most of your team has been reassigned. They've all signed statements confirming their concerns about your research practices." The betrayal cut deep. My team, my family, had turned against me. "As of this moment," Victor continued, clearly enjoying his performance, "you are terminated from quantum dynamics. Security will escort you to clear your desk. Any attempt to dispute these findings or make claims about your alleged breakthrough will result in immediate legal action." The final blow. I was being fired, publicly humiliated, and threatened with legal action. The room sat in stunned silence. Board members avoided my gaze, shuffling papers uncomfortably. The weight of their judgment was crushing. I was an outcast, a pariah. But something strange happened in that moment. Instead of the panic they expected, a sense of calm washed over me. The anger was still there, but it was now focused, directed. I would not be broken. Because in their eagerness to steal my work, they'd made one crucial mistake. They didn't know about the precautions I'd taken, the real patent applications, the encrypted data stored on secure servers they couldn't access. They thought they were watching me break. Instead, they were watching me realize exactly how to make them pay for their betrayal. This wasn't the end. This was the beginning of my revenge. As security approached to escort me out, I paused at the door and turned back to the room. This was my moment to deliver a message, to plant a seed of doubt in their minds. Just one thing, Victor, I said. You might want to check the patent office records tomorrow morning. And maybe have your lawyers review the company's position in the quantum computing market. Things could get interesting. The last thing I saw before the doors closed was Victor's confident smile beginning to crack. He didn't know what I was planning, but he knew I was up to something. In the elevator down, flanked by 2 security guards, I allowed myself a small smile. They thought they'd stripped everything from me, my job, my reputation, my life's work. But in trying to steal my breakthrough, they'd actually given me something invaluable, the perfect opportunity for justice. This was my chance to turn the tables, to show them what I was truly capable of. Because what Victor Blake didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I'd seen this coming months ago and I prepared accordingly. I was ready for them. By tomorrow morning, they'd understand exactly what they'd done and, more importantly, what I was about to do. I would have my revenge and it would be glorious. But that would have to wait. For now, I had a desk to clear, a plan to set in motion, and a very interesting phone call to make to the patent office. The wheels of my revenge were already turning. The next morning, I sat in my home office, surrounded by 3 monitors displaying everything from patent office records to quantum dynamics stock price. My plan had been set in motion. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since 5 a.m. Reporters, tech bloggers, industry analysts, all wanting to know about the mysterious new quantum computing patent that had just been made public. A patent that wasn't in quantum dynamics' name. A patent that was filed under a completely separate company, making it nearly untraceable to my former employers. Maria Torres from the Wall Street Journal was the first to call. Dr. Martinez, she began, I'm looking at a patent filing that seems to describe a revolutionary quantum computing architecture. One that could maintain quantum coherence for periods previously thought impossible. That's correct, I replied calmly. The technology was developed independently through my own research company. But weren't you working for quantum dynamics until yesterday? Maria pressed. I was, I said, but my contract explicitly allowed for independent research and patent filings, as long as they didn't use company resources. Something Mr. Blake seems to have forgotten when he accused me of fraud. By 10 a.m. the story had exploded. Quantum dynamics stock had dropped 15% in the first hour of trading. Their carefully crafted image was shattering before their eyes. Their much-hyped quantum computing announcement planned for later that week was now in shambles. The technology they tried to steal from me was worthless to them without the patent rights. At 2 p.m. I walked into Aurora Tech headquarters where their entire board was waiting. The meeting lasted exactly 47 minutes. When I emerged, I had a new position as their chief quantum officer, complete control over my research, and a compensation package that made my quantum dynamics salary look like pocket change. More importantly, I had the resources to bring my scattered team back together. I would rebuild what Victor had tried to destroy. By the end of the week, quantum dynamics stock had fallen 40%. Their quantum computing initiative was dead in the water. Their reputation was in tatters. The board called an emergency meeting, and by Monday morning, both Victor Blake and James Morrison had resigned to pursue other opportunities. 3 months later, we unveiled Aurora's first prototype quantum computer using my architecture. The demonstration was flawless. Quantum coherence maintained for unprecedented periods. Computational problems solved that would have taken classical computers millennia. Victor Blake was in the audience. I'd made sure he received an invitation. He left halfway through, just as I was explaining how my research had changed the future of computing. Last week, I gave a keynote speech at MIT's graduation ceremony. Looking out at those bright young faces, I shared the real lesson of my story. In science, as in life, it's not enough to be brilliant. You must also be wise. Document everything. Trust your instincts. And remember, sometimes the best response to those who try to diminish you is to rise so high they can't reach you anymore. As I drive home each evening now, passing the quantum computing lab where my team works late into the night, I often think about that morning when Victor tried to destroy everything I'd built. He thought he was ending my career. Instead, he gave me the push I needed to change the world. Sometimes the greatest victories come not from fighting back, but from moving forward with such purpose and integrity that your success becomes your revenge. And sometimes the best way to prove someone wrong is to prove yourself right in ways they never imagined possible. What would it look like for you to live a life that is truly yours? Share your reflections in the comments below, and subscribe to the channel for more stories of transformation. If Sarah's story inspired you, hit the like button and share this video with someone who needs a reminder that they can overcome anything. What's the biggest challenge you've faced in your career? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your story. Don't forget to subscribe for more real-life lessons on resilience, innovation, and success.